And hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the J Squared podcast. Jesse Kass and Jayson Williams back with you here. And Jayson, we decided to slow it down a little bit. It's going to be just me and you again, back like the first episode.
Uh-oh. But I know you want to talk some NBA basketball today.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
let me tell you a story. My favorite NBA team right now is, the Dallas Mavericks, to make
Okay.
that be known, just because of their owner. I think their owner, Mark Cuban, is the greatest humanitarian that I ever met. Just a good man. He cares about his players and how he goes out and gets not the most popular players to become stars in this league. The guy Luca, who would
Yeah.
have thought? Who would have went out and got him? But he constantly goes out and gets this talent. It's almost like the show he's on, right? Shark Tank, because he'd be like, how are you going to turn that around? But he does. And I tell you something, the first one he ever did that I can remember, he had Steve Nash, and me and Steve were really tight at the time, and I'd be still tight, but and he bought in. I was just coming off the IR, the injured reserve, and Steve goes, "Hey, Jay, I got somebody I want you to play." And I go, "How much?" Because I'm a really good one-on-one player.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the prime of my life. And he goes, "You see that big white guy over there?" And I go, "Yeah." The guy that's like a country western singer. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I want you to play him." And I'm like, "Come on, man, how much?" But we put a pretty significant amount. And I go over to him. I go, "Come on, man, let's play one-on-one." And he looks at me like he doesn't speak English. I still don't know if he speaks English. I still don't know. But he came out to the court. He gave me the ball, right? I gave him a pump fake. He jumped. I went around. I did a reverse dunk. Boom. And I looked at him and I looked over at Steve and I gave him that. Really? Steve was like, "Okay, wait a minute. Wait for it." And then all of a sudden, I felt good, went over, hit a little pop, a little 15-footer. But he was really close. And I was like, wow, this guy is long. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the next one off, you
Yeah.
know? So the second time I went left, which I very rarely do, I crossed back right, and he was right there, and he blocked it. And to get your shot blocked, in a one-on-one game, the two NBA All-Stars, where he was not even an All-Star at the time, wasn't good because we had everybody watching.
Yeah.
And then Dirk gave me the ball. He called foul for me. I said, "Nah, that wasn't no foul." So I figured, look, I'm just going to roughhouse him and get the ball back. The next time I saw the ball, because it was make it, keep it, the score was just that, 11-2.
Yeah.
Dirk Nowitzki beat me 11-2, and I went on TV that time and I said, "This is the best basketball player in the league." And everybody went, "Oh, there goes Jay, over exaggerating just because somebody could beat him one-on-one. This guy's the best player in the league." And I remember all the black people getting mad at me too. The black guys, they were like, "How
Yeah.
can you say that, Jay? This guy's unproven." I'm saying, this is the best player, man. I'm telling you. And he ended up being the best player. Like, who finds that talent? Like who goes out and gets it? Because if they got it, I want to know, and how can we use it over at St. John's University,
That's always the key, right? Everyone's always searching, but
Yeah,
uh,
but he's got a great, way to find unproven and talent of people where people have not recognized it yet. So Cuban does a great job of going out and going, "Okay, and hold him there, hold him right there. Nobody's gonna see him. Hello, this is Luca. Hello, this is Dirk," and just goes on and on. And he was in one of the cities in Dallas where you kind of marked off if you want to play. Like Milwaukee, we'll always go, "Uh-oh, stomach ache before Milwaukee when you got the schedule, not making that game,
yeah.
the middle of February." Dallas was a little warmer weather, beautiful people. You're like, all right, see how we're feeling. And then it became, where Mark made it one of the best teams. You had to go because, it wasn't a given anymore.
Yeah, and that's a good little segue too, because I know we have some different NBA talking points, but talking about international talent, I don't know how much you've seen of Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be almost certainly the number one pick this upcoming year. There's been showcases where he's played against some of the G League teams, and this guy's 7'4". He shoots the three, he blocks shots. He's as highly touted a prospect we've seen since LeBron in terms of the hype level. Have you seen him? What do you think of him? And how much can a guy like that translate to the league quickly?
Well, it depends on where he goes. if he goes out to Dallas, where they got time to groom him, if he goes to a team right now, which most likely is going to need him and put a lot of pressure on him, one of the things the NBA does during that little week that they keep you is called rookie mandatory camp.
Yeah.
Uh, they got a bunch of psychiatrists there, and they tell you pretty much where players can play. Who's going to be able to handle playing in San Antonio versus playing in New York, where New York got 44 papers,
Yeah.
and in San Antonio, the paper's probably owned by the team. So, it's they're gonna be least pressure there. I look at a big guy like that, and if I was with Oakley or Ewing and a bunch of guys and guys like that coming in the league, I remember like Kevin Garnett kind of style.
Yeah.
We would come in and say, we're gonna beat the brakes off this boy. We just gonna not let him come to the basket. We're gonna knock him down. We're gonna mentally play with them. We're gonna deny him. We're gonna play him rough, and then we see what happens. But this is a different game today. There's no hand checking. They want to see a lot of points scored. The league is gonna make sure he's protected, because you even got guys, and not to switch topics, but like Zion, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thought Zion was gonna come in and roll over the league because of his body, and it brought him back to the days of Charles Barkley. The difference between Zion and Charles is one that, Charles is a sense of urgency in the games, is
Yeah.
one that he does not like to be embarrassed. So he wasn't a good practice player, Charles Barkley, but in the games he bought it.
Yeah.
What's going to hurt Zion, who's married, his uncle is married to my sister, right? And I thought he was going to St. John's, and I thought until he thought Jay Williams was his uncle, and he went to Duke.
Just
I think
got
he
the
ended up.
mix up there.
Yeah, there was a mix-up there. That's how I'm going with it anyway. But
Yeah.
I told St. John's about him. They were like, "Hey, man, that guy's 2 years away," and I'm like, "Okay." But the difference is Zion needs to stop landing on one leg. Every time he's too big to be jumping so high so often, and then landing on one leg, Jesse. And I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a problem for him. It's just like you see the big center. I watch him play, and I hurt out of Philadelphia. Joe.
Embiid. Yeah.
Yeah, when he's running, you can see the pressure on his knees. So you can see that these guys are not going to have long seasons. Um, Charles Barkley was a different breed. I've never seen Charles Barkley in the weight room, but from the belly button down, the strongest human being I ever saw.
Yeah.
We're in there squatting 500 and 600 pounds, and Charles didn't do any of that, but you couldn't move him off the block. So, who did we start with? Who were we first talking about? Oh
We're
no, the seven
talking
foot
about
four guy.
Wembanyama, but
Yeah.
yeah, to your
So
point,
it depends
like,
on where he goes,
yeah.
right? And how they treat him, how the league receives him. Like Kevin Garnett came in, and he came in with a bunch of bruises, but he came in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. So if this kid, can come in now where the league is more offensively based, which is going to help him, but you
Yeah.
can't teach 7'4". 7'4" is 7'4".
Yeah.
He really don't have to fade. He don't really have to put a lot of wear and tear on his body, because he don't really have to jump, right? He's going to be shooting over anybody. And I've watched just the clips that I watched. He got great handle, but you got to put him on a team that's going to complement all that stuff, where he's not getting in the team's way.
Yeah.
That's what I think. But is 7'4" can do all those things? I'm not hating on him. Where
Yeah.
they predict him to go? What is looking like the first team, the first pick in the draft this year?
Well, obviously they've changed the lottery odds in terms of, they flattened them out a little bit. So,
You want
but
to
so we don't
talk
know. I
about
mean,
that, right? You remember back in the day when me and your daddy was growing up, you
yeah.
just used to look at the lottery balls. I'm probably gonna get a lot of trouble for this, but they used to pop right in front of you. You remember,
Yeah.
like bingo,
Yeah.
and a B8, Now they just put them on a piece of cloth and a thing, and they wrap them up, and they go, "Here you go," and they go, "Trust us." These are the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth
Yeah.
picks in the NBA draft.
Yeah. Here's the frozen envelope type
Yeah,
thing.
but we do believe you, NBA. We do believe you.
No, but it's interesting though what you're talking about with, obviously we don't know what teams will have the first pick because it is so early in the season, just about 10, 11 games in. So we have a little ways to go with that. But kind of your point on Zion and some of these guys, when they've been healthy, they've been extremely good. You've seen Zion's numbers. He averages 27 points a game. He does, use his body and his force well, but has trouble staying on the court with his health. And we've seen that with other guys too. So for me, that's really the biggest thing with a guy like Victor Wembanyama. I think, on both ends of the floor, because he's so big, he's got so many skills. I think he'll be effective no matter what. But his ceiling is, it sounds simple, but it's based on his health. If he's someone who, like Kristaps Porzingis was that height and he tore his ACL and had foot problems. If big guys have foot problems like that sometimes. So that's really I guess the only hangup that I'd have about taking him that early is, can he stay healthy for a long career?
Well, Jesse, the thing goes, look, when you go to play high school, you play 30 games a year, you know, and
Yeah.
you're playing against guys that you're 2 feet taller than, in his case,
Yeah.
and not as physical. And you're supposed to be playing against fans. Here you're going to play against people where they're looking at you going, you ain't going to take no food off my plate.
Yeah.
So they're coming at you. Now, the difference between 30 games with an 18-year-old who, he's only 18. That's why we were always at St. John's always saying, stay 4 years. Not the only we need you to stay 4 years, but stay 4 years.
Yeah.
It's because the wear and tear on your body. You go from playing 30 college games or 30 high school games to playing over 82 regular season games, 10 playoff games, 10 preseason games. You're playing over 100 games on a young body like that. That's going to get a lot of miles on it. Now, you could say the same thing for LeBron James because LeBron came out and I thought it would be the same thing, but two different physiques, two different times. Darryl Dawkins, when he came out, Moses Malone, these guys had different body types. They weren't running the floor as quick. But now with technology and different nutrients and nutritional values that you can put in your body, you can get your blood twisted. It ain't like Will Chamberlain who played every minute of every game one season with some Chuck Taylors on, right? I
Right.
can't walk from gate B to gate C in Newark Airport with some Chuck Taylors on without getting hurt 4 times in my prime. Now these guys are playing with shoes that jump for themselves, and they got all kind of yoga and all kind of trainers for trainers. So it's they got a 20-man coaching staff. They're getting stretched every 5 minutes. So it's a different game, and people it's like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods came in. He played against older white gentlemen with beer bellies and drinking beer on the course, and he created something that came to bite him in the back. And that is he came in with a great physique, a weight room, a great routine, and people kept looking at him going, wow, is that what an athlete on a golf course looks like? And he created all these young kids coming in behind him, and they were getting leaner and stronger, and hitting the ball further.
Yeah.
And then he ended up having to play the same people he created. And I think that's
Yeah.
what's going on in the NBA. And the people that he created, couldn't keep up with him. And what he do? Start swinging a little harder. And when we start going out of our element, and because we lose our confidence and we start losing our self-esteem, our body starts to break down on us. Because one of the things is when you are, it's like in a drunk driving. Most of the time when drunk drivers get into an accident, they are not hurt because they're relaxed at the time because of the alcohol. It's the same thing as a pro. The more you relax, the bigger the rim gets and the ball gets smaller and it feels like you can make everything. It takes away the anxiety. It takes away the stress. And that helps you in your body, And then every other shot you take, you know it's going in or it has a chance. There's times where I
Yeah.
got there when I was stressing out when we were playing. I think one season we started 3-17. I took a free throw and I shot it and the whole crowd started laughing. And I was like, what the hell? And I hit the left-hand bottom corner of the backboard, down here somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And the ball just hit the other player in the head. He's like, damn, Jay. And I was like, how the hell did that happen? Right? And
Yeah.
the people were like, oh, that's just Jay being funny. And I was like, wow, how did I just hit the corner of a backboard? And I was like, so right before they came and gave me the ball again, one of the guards came run up behind me on my team and go, hey, Jay, you made Jerry West duck? Oh, Jerry West is just
Yeah.
looking at
On the
us on
corner. Yeah.
then the next day, the league called me and they were like, Jay, there's no way in the hell an all-star like yourself can go up and hit the bottom of a damn backboard. What the hell's going on in your life? Are you, and they looking through this, they pull out my file, it's about that big, right? And they're going, what do you think? I missed that on purpose? And they were like, well, we don't know. You missed it so bad, So it was pretty funny because after that, I told him, I said, look, I'm only shooting 50-some%, you know. So they were like, Jesus. I snitched on somebody. I was like, shit, look at Ben Wallace. Right?
Yeah. And
And they were like,
you're like, it
yeah, they
just
go,
slipped
but
out of my
Ben
head.
Wallace can never shoot. You
Yeah.
can shoot. And I was like, oh my goodness. So not only did I have the pressure of my family being in the stand, my teammates counting on me, the NBA watching my every move, every move. Is now that I had, the NBA security making sure that I at least hit the rim with the ball. So, as I
You're
said,
like,
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back to the gym every night, and I'm gonna end up just becoming a better free throw shooter. And what I did was there was a little locker room there where the hockey player, the Devils, used to stay, keep their old equipment. I moved that out. I cleaned it up. I put a little bed in there, and I ended up sleeping at the arena some nights. And you had to put a cat in there because the rats in the arenas are so huge. And I'm scared of cats too. So they have to come get the cat to let me out in the morning, the ball boys, and then I'll go in there. But I stay there shooting free throws and get a chance to go see Bon Jovi at night. You come out with your like Vinny the Chin with your bathrobe on. People are like, that's Jayson Williams with a bathrobe on. What the hell is he doing there? You get to see the circus in town. You get to see all these events that are going on because you're just living at the arena. And I'm living there just to take free throws to come to find out that you think the baskets are up the whole time. When you leave, so does the baskets. The baskets leave and a show comes on. So that was counterproductive. I should have just stayed home.
yeah, they're like, can
It
you
would have
bring me
been
one of
more.
those baskets?
Right, I had one of them baskets.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I had a whole bunch of them. But probably one thing I didn't have, I didn't have peace. At least at the arena, you have peace. That's another one for you. Is that you
Yeah.
know why the NBA players we don't never retire? All pro athletes, you go out and buy a team. As you go home, you go, woo, wow, I've been gone a long time. And then you hear the yap, 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 yap. You be like, I think I got 2 more years, Pat Riley. you know? What's my man that's still playing with the
Oh,
Miami Heat?
Udonis Haslam. Yeah.
Good God, he must have a loud home. He must be yap, 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 yap.
Well,
Ah,
like
that's
for him, it's like you get a nice check, and then you
right.
get to see, you get to be the leader, hang out on the
Right.
bench.
that dude is Benjamin Buttons, man. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean,
God
props
bless
to
him.
him. He's
That,
still going. Yeah,
yes, he is, man. I love him.
yeah,
Yep.
and you were talking about that balance as a player. I'm curious, for you, and you just touched on it a little bit, but these games get so high pressured and so intense. How do you stay relaxed and stay confident when you're playing in these types of games where naturally, you're cutting, you're running, you're jumping, you're banging bodies, you're doing everything. Like, how do you mentally stay relaxed in a state where you can go out there and perform and not put that additional stress on your body where that can result in injuries or wear and tear, or whatever else?
Well, that comes to preparation because nothing happens 1,000 times in practice that doesn't happen one time in a game. So I always played better when I practiced better. When I went to bed earlier. When we had our NBC games, it's
Yeah,
pretty interesting that when you know you're on NBC that week, even though you're playing in front of millions of people, when the NBC game came on, everybody went home, everybody stretched out, everybody was at the game a little earlier, because it's the NBC game of the week.
yeah,
Now we have a lot of them but at that time, so when I knew that I was prepped the correct way, the game came easier. When I knew I shot 500 free throws, every day, the ball went in. But
yeah,
if you get up there and go, it's just like golf. You get up there and go, oh my God, I haven't swung this club in this long. I don't know what's going to happen. And it doesn't work like that. You really have to be, the more I was prepared physically, mentally, the emotional stuff and the mental stuff came pretty easy for me. So, that's how I prepared myself, and that's when I had my best times in anything in life. For this podcast, for me going to work at Rebound and trying to get people off substances and help them be better in wellness and all these things. You really have to prepare yourself. You have to, let's say, sacrifice a lot of things also. You know,
yeah,
and you have to sacrifice for your teammates sometime. And when you really learn that and you get you a good team around you and one guy is out, another guy steps up. One of the things that I have something to say. It was great being the damn sixth man.
Yeah,
It was being the sixth man. You come in behind Derek Coleman, good or bad, however he's playing. You come in, you're always the hero. None of the, you get all the glory. You don't get none of the guts. You don't get none of the stuff that falls out, and you don't get the blame. But when you're the sixth man, you just come in, you play hard for 25 minutes, and you light stuff up, and great things happen. And
yeah,
then they go, oh, Jayson Williams came off the bench, but if they, Derek Coleman, the greater players he is, he had to take all the blood. And then when it came to me, I would have to take it all, and I'd be like, wow, I'm carrying a whole franchise on my shoulders. This is a lot.
yeah.
It's just the way it goes in life. Much is given, much is required. That comes from the Bible. Don't think I made that up. That came from God.
Yeah, no question. And touching on the NBA season, because I know we talked about the standings a little bit. It's still early, obviously, as you mentioned, but it's been an interesting start to the year. You still have some of your usual contenders like Milwaukee's 9-1, Boston 7-3, but you have teams like Utah, who was supposed to be the worst team in the league. They're
Right.
9-3 and in first place in the Western Conference. The Spurs, they're down to 5-6, but they got off to a good start. Then you have some of the other, premier contenders that have gotten off to slow starts. Clippers 6-5. They had a nice win against the Cavs the other night. They seem like they're bouncing back. But the Warriors, the champions, are just 4-7. You have obviously the Lakers are a mess. They're 2-8. The Brooklyn Nets are 4-7. The Sixers are 5-6. So a number of teams that are expected to have huge years are struggling. What would you attribute that to? And for you, in your experience, is there anything about early in the season where you might not be as locked in, you're kind of finding your rhythm? Like what goes into that early in the year where good teams might just be a little bit off?
Well, sometimes, me only playing for really two teams, um, one being the 76ers and the other being the Nets. Uh, when you lose the locker room as a star, that's a problem. And I think if you look at great players and you look by their name, if they've been traded a whole lot of times, it's mostly because they lose the locker room. They could be locker room gossipers, laundry ladies, busybodies,
Yeah,
or they could be people that don't practice hard, or people on the other team just don't respect. Or, so I think you have to really look at the leadership role, right? Of who it is. Let's take LeBron and let's take the Lakers, for example. Um, are they still looking at LeBron James as their leader? I love him. I think he's a great, player and a great individual. I love the way he speaks up. A lot of people that have been in his shoes for social issues and other issues have never spoken up. I love what he did for the schools. But is that enough for when it comes down to the locker room? So if you're looking at the locker room, are they looking at him going, if we give him the ball at the end, can he save us? Or is he doing what he's asked of us? Is he doing it? Here at Rebound, I'm not only sitting in on groups, I'm not only doing these things, but I'm also cutting the grass at the farm.
hmm,
I'm cleaning up the chicken coop. I'm doing things that I would never ask any one of my partners, my staff to do. I'm actually doing it with them. So that is where the respect and keeping the locker room comes. But it comes to a point where when you lose the locker room, you got to get traded. Most likely, first it comes because players don't get fired, coaches do.
yeah,
Right? So the blame gets put to management. But the best thing Phil Jackson ever did was he had management get together with the players, and put players against the management, and the management against the leadership roles of the owners, right? And they were like, "Oh, they're trying to get us. We got to stay close together. We better
yeah,
play hard." So I think what's going on now is that you got a bunch of people who are second doubting each other. And just because I remember when the Lakers put the great team together of Gary Payton and Malone and all them other guys that were great, and everybody was
yeah,
like, "Well, this team is going to, they're the best team ever," and they had all these great players. You always got to remember it comes down to momentum, and there's only one ball and one hoop on that side.
yeah,
You can have all these great names when it comes down to it. It's like once you get into a fight, is why back in the day I try to make my fights last as quick as they can. But once you get into a fight and you let somebody get out the first round, somebody goes, "Hey, I got a chance here." You
Yeah.
know, um, just like what happened over in Golden State. That might have been something that came down from the management. I might have said, "Look, we might have had enough of this individual. He's worn his work welcome out here. We might want to let him go, but the fans love him. What can we do?" The only reason I say something like that is because why would that tape ever leak?
Yeah.
That
I
tape
mean,
could,
that's
right,
a young staffer who got a payday, I'm sure, from
right.
TMZ where he wanted, but obviously there's some, discontentment there where he's willing to do the leak of that. And, on the LeBron Lakers thing too, real quick, it's, there's more talent in the league today than there's ever been when you look at just the skill level of what people are able to do. So you look at teams like, the Lakers and what they're doing, obviously they have LeBron and they have Anthony Davis and they have Westbrook, which is a clunky fit anyway. But, Rob Pelinka, who put together a great team a couple years ago, frankly, did a horrific, terrible job of putting a team together. The rest of the roster is awful by NBA standards, where you look at the other teams around the league, there you could say some things about LeBron's leadership, and he's obviously in year 20, but they have the worst shooting team in the league. For LeBron, you need shooters around him. I mean, the way they put together the roster was bad. So you can it obviously comes down to the players, but if you put bad players on the court, you're going to get bad results.
Growing up playing in the yard, in the schoolyard, most of my life, I played more games in the schoolyard, Jesse, than I ever come close to playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
We'll pick sometimes just the best guys, the guys that can dunk, that couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
And we picked the guys that couldn't dribble but can just sit there and shoot from way out. And we won. We didn't really go in and pick this role, this role, this role. What I believe is that if so, it was we knew first of all if we lost, we were coming off the court forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think right now these guys go, well, we lose. Tomorrow's another game. I think they got that kind of momentum. Second of all, that's too much talent on that team, and we're giving them too much credit. Jesse, you are because this guy can't shoot, this guy can't do that. Them guys can still play basketball. And regardless, if your jump shot ain't going, take it to the hoop. There's no
Yeah.
excuse for them not to be as good as they are not being right now. They are still the most talented players, first team players on that team. So they need to all go bowling. Have a bowling night, right? And some pizza and just say, hey guys, we got to get this thing together, man. And I think that's all it is. There's more chemistry than it is anything else.
Before we wrap up, we know obviously there's been another team that has been struggling is one of the teams you played for, the Brooklyn Nets. We know there's been a lot of controversy around them with Kyrie Irving, who obviously is suspended right now. Just what are your thoughts on everything that's gone on in Brooklyn with Kyrie and sharing the anti-Semitic movie and then getting suspended and just the whole situation that's gone down in Brooklyn?
Well, I think Kyrie needs a guy around him that he can really trust. I think when you don't have people to pull your coattails and say, hey, Jay, that might not work, or hey, Jay, something to run stuff by, and you're constantly isolating, which is not healthy.
Yeah.
Solitude is healthy, isolation is not. I think they brought in Steve Nash to work with Kyrie, uh, and Steve Nash being a very good coach, but it's very difficult when somebody's going through their own stuff and then try to put it on a basketball court and say, hey, this is not the guy we signed up for. This is a guy right now who's having some personal issues and is starting to relate onto the basketball court. Look, you don't have to kiss babies and shake hands when you're winning,
Yeah.
but you got to kiss baby and shake hands when you don't, when you're not winning. Now, let me tell you something. When I saw that, I was like, wow, that's the straw that broke the camel's back right there. Because one thing that I work for the Wolves out of, they own the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
And a funny story is that we went leaving out of New York to go to Alabama to play golf, and our bags got mixed up down the baggage claim.
Yeah.
So I used to tell the guys all the time. I used to say, "Hey, I work with the Wolves, and my dad laid brick for them for 50 years, and they all garden apartments, and they used to go, all right, Jay, your dad, you always got dad stories. I'm like, yeah. So we go to the airport, and we look down at a bag, and it says, we had the wrong bag. It said Mark Wolf, who owns the Minnesota Vikings,
Yeah.
and it had his name on it. So I go, the guy goes, come, Jay, we got the wrong bag. I go, all right, calm down. Just call him. I used to work for him. I laid brick.
Yeah.
And they go, Jay, not the story now. I go, I'm serious. So we call him. I go, Mark, it's Jayson Williams. He goes, hey, man. Go, how's your dad? I go, my dad passed. He went on to be with the Lord. It's like, oh, man, your dad was a great guy. He worked for us, and I'm great hearing from you. And what's going on? I go, I got your bag. Right? He goes, really? And I go, yeah. So we switched bags. Right?
Yeah.
And then we get another bag. We get to the airport again, and they all looking like it must have been being sold on sale on Amazon or something. So we
Yeah.
get there, and we got the wrong bag from somebody else that they gave it to us. And we opened the bag, right, to look, and guess what it was? It was a guy named Jimmy Brown. It was his bag, and now he got our bag, so his phone number on there. I never met the guy, but I all the time. So we get on the phone. I go, hey, Jimmy, this is Jayson Williams. He go, what's happening, man? I said, you going to Alabama? He said, nah, we going to Myrtle Beach to play with a bunch of guys. You on your way down here? I go, nah, Jimmy, you got my bag. And I got yours. He said, you was a damn lie. He said, my bag is under the plane. And I go, nah, Jimmy, I got your bag. He said, well, open my bag and see in there and see what it is and tell me if that you got my bag. He said, because we about to take off, and I watched them put my stuff under the plane.
Yeah.
I'm looking out the window right now. So I opened the bag up, and with his permission, and in there was a leg. Jimmy had an artificial leg.
Oh no.
So I go, hey, Jimmy, is it a leg? And he go, yep, damn straight, you damn sure got my bag. Oh, we took his bag, he got our bag. We had to switch it. He couldn't play golf for 3 days, let alone walk, because he had an artificial leg.
Oh
But
man.
I tell you all that to tell you this, that knowing I did a show, I'm not gonna mention the other guy, but I mentioned this guy. It was a very popular show back in the 90s. Well, I mentioned this guy. And Bernard from the Imus show.
Yeah.
He passed away a couple of weeks ago. And Bernard, one of the greatest guys, got me in so much trouble. I used to do Imus in the morning for a long time, maybe 10 years. Since I was in college, I was doing Imus in the morning. And he used to, when I didn't make it, didn't do it, he would imitate me. Bernard did,
Yeah.
Bernard McGurk. And he would, and he did it so well, he used to keep me in so much trouble. I remember he used to be like, yeah, when I see Patrick Ewing, I'm going to knock him out. And I get to the game. Some days I don't listen to Imus, and Patrick would be like, yo, Jay, man, what's all that stuff you talking about? I'd be like, what the hell is he talking about? And my dad, one day, we're in the car, and we're in the tractor trailer, and we're driving to drop a Caterpillar off, a bulldozer, and my
Yeah.
dad hears them going on, and my dad, he's looking at the radio, and he's looking at me, and because they live, right? And he's looking at me, and he's talking all kind of crazy stuff about what I did in the club last night, and who I was with, and I messed with this one, and I'll be there, and my dad going, who are they talking about, nigga? Right? And I going, Dad, that ain't me. And he go, it damn no show sound like you. What you did? He couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But I just want to say to his family, my condolences to this family. But he did a great job in imitating me. It got me in so much trouble. But what there was another guy that was popular on this radio station, and his name was Mad Dog, and he went on with another guy at a blockhead. Not gonna say who he is because he spoke bad about Lou Carnesecca, and when that happens, that's it with me. Especially when he was retiring that year. But I got on there in one of the classes that I think the Nets wanted him to take. Now we're going back to Kyrie, was sensitivity training. I had none of that, but I'm never out to try to hurt somebody or
Right.
make fun of somebody before I make fun of myself, and I want to make sure that it doesn't offend anybody else. But now that I know, I did say this, And this is when I knew I was in trouble. And I brought up uh, uh, the whole thing with the guy who owns the Minnesota Timberwolves because he was a Jewish guy, and we worked for him, and my dad used to teach me a lot about Jewish culture and
Yeah.
what they demand from you. And one thing he told me was like, Jayson, and he never really gets the numbers right, but he likes to put more specific to make me think I know what I'm talking about. So he'd
Yeah.
be like, Jayson, there's 13,748 Jewish people in this world. And I was like, oh, how did my dad know that? But he said, but there's 7 billion people, but they're a powerful religion of people. So you got to respect that. And I went on this show, not really remembering that, went on and I offended someone, but didn't think I was. I was negotiating for a contract. We had 7 Jewish owners at the time at the Nets, and they called them the Sea Caucus 7.
Yeah.
And they're all friends. I hung out with their kids. We were all buddies, and never really thought black, Jewish, Catholic, all these things. I got on there, and I remember when we were negotiating a contract. I heard them going, "How much are we going to give them? $10 million." And I was doing the 10. I was doing I thought I was doing like a Jewish, sound of me talking. And what? Are
Accent,
you
something like that.
crazy? Yeah, are you crazy? And how many how many Cadillacs can one black guy drive? And I'm doing that whole skit, and it was going well until I said this. I said, "Holy bar," you know, I don't want to spell it out, but something
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
say that means a whole lot to them. I would never say it again, but it offended them. And I didn't think that will. And I said it, and then all of a sudden the boards in the radio station started lighting up. And I was like, uh-oh, something's going on here, because a lot of people show up calling to talk to me. So I just got up, right? And I was like, all right, guys, see you later. Everybody else was like this. I see people running around. I was like, I must be in trouble. By the time I got in my car, Jesse, and got back in it to get home, we had a cell phone at this time, just got one, and they called me and said, Jay, you got to turn around. Said, you offended all the Jewish people. You got to get around and go back and tell an apology and say it. And I was like, well, what word? They go, no, man, you can't say that word. They take that serious. And I was like, wow. I thought about it in my heart, I offended somebody. So I need to change that. And that's
Yeah.
how I thought. Because if my ego was there, I would have just said, Jesse, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to do it. But I went back in and I apologized, and I learned from that. Now, not that just because one race or religion is stronger than the other, we're supposed to apologize, but we have to be careful with the stuff that we spit out there, because we might offend people. And with the world being such a cancel place, such a toxic place at times right now, and a quick to judge place, um, you know, we you attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar, you
Yeah.
know. And this comes from, that radio station going, that's just Jayson being funny. But then one thing they did say, they said, at that radio station, the producer, I remember making an excuse for me. He was like, he's just a funny guy. He's not smart enough to, know what that is. And at the time, that really made me open my eyes when somebody told me I wasn't smart enough to realize I offended somebody, that I had to really open my eyes and go out and better learn these things.
Yeah.
What really offends people.
Yeah. And I think you're you're right on there with the Kyrie thing. It's not necessarily the posting of it. It was the kind of, like I said, the ego and the kind of digging in of your heels and not wanting to apologize. And then eventually he obviously did, but it took getting suspended. So, I don't think Kyrie is necessarily a bad guy at all. We know he's given so much to different charities. He's done many, many great things. And obviously one act, one post doesn't make a person. You say you don't cancel a person over that. But I do think that for Kyrie, there does need to be somewhat of a learning process, which I think he's talked about being open to, but maybe actions haven't, lined up with that, where, you talk about wanting to learn your history, but then you're posting basically a video that's all a lie and all something that's rooted in not only disinformation and misinformation, but hateful misinformation. So I think that just learning that and knowing where you're getting your information from is important. And for Kyrie, I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I think he shared something that was hurtful. I think Amazon, obviously, people have mentioned this, shouldn't have that on their platform if it's a movie that has fake quotes from Hitler and crazy stuff that just doesn't hold true. So I think Amazon needs to get rid of it. Obviously, from Kyrie's perspective, he's well intentioned, but as you said, there needs to be more of a learning process that goes in with that, where he's talked about wanting to learn his history, and there is a lot of hate in the world, and there's obviously incredible prejudice against black people in the world, and I know Kyrie's standing up for that, but that doesn't conflict with prejudice against Jewish community as well. Both things can exist at the same time, and both things can be hurtful to different people at the same time. So I think for Kyrie, hopefully it's a learning experience where it's something that he learns about, not only what he's sharing, but that he has a big platform that people are going to listen to. He's someone that has influence. So whether he realizes it or not, if he posts something even without a caption, people are going to listen to that and take it to heart. So knowing the power of what he shares, what his words are, I think is a step for him in terms of, just realizing that going forward.
Jesse, you're Jewish, correct?
Yeah, yeah, my family's Jewish. Yeah, not necessarily hugely religious, but yeah.
Okay, and what did you take it as? You just being a co-host of obviously being around the sport a lot, but just as a Jewish person, how did you take that?
Well, like I said, I don't think that Kyrie is hateful in any way. I do think he's well intentioned, but I do think sharing stuff like that is ignorant, and I think it's the digging in to saying, "Oh, I can't be anti-Semitic because I'm this type of person." I thought that was wrong, and I think for Kyrie, he shared some other questionable stuff in the past where you talked about, like the straw that broke the camel's back, where I think there has to be a look in the mirror moment for someone like Kyrie Irving where, just because you don't mean to doesn't mean you aren't hurting people. Could be this, the same thing that just happened with, Kanye West and his comments, which were probably worse as actual comments than what Kyrie did. But that stuff makes a difference in society. You look at some of the comments online where we know obviously online is not necessarily a real place with how people act, but it's scary to see some of the comments out there and how people react and are, oh, I agree with Kyrie, like F Jewish people, all that. And then you'll see, obviously, on the freeway here in Los Angeles, where someone, there's a big banner that someone put over the freeway, said Kanye was right about the Jews. And then in Florida, on a building, said Kanye was right about the Jews. Stuff like that leads to the real people that are hateful and anti Semitic being able to feel like they can come out. So that's really from where I'm coming from, where I feel like I said, I don't think Kyrie's a bad person, but even something as simple as sharing a movie that has misinformation like that can be very harmful, whether it's intended to be or not. So, I do think it's good that he finally apologized. I think it's good that LeBron James, who you mentioned is always someone to speak up, has really been the only player who has said, I thought Kyrie was wrong, essentially. Obviously other players have agreed, say, I don't stand with hate, but I do think that more players, if they came out and said, I think this specifically from Kyrie was wrong. It doesn't mean he's a bad person, but this was wrong. I think that would be helpful and positive. But that's pretty much where I take it from. I don't think he's a horrible person, but I do think that he did something that can lead to more hurt and hate in the world. So, obviously an apology and moving forward and just trying to be better, is the way to go.
How did you take his apology?
I thought the words of it were good. I thought it was, I don't know how much weight it holds because he spent about 4 or 5 days not apologizing. So it's going to be one of those things where I guess it's actions more than words going forward. But as you said, I'm generally a more optimistic and positive person. So if someone apologizes, I'll take that apology and hold them to it and believe it. But going forward, seeing with actions is going to be the real thing. I certainly am not in the business of holding hate in my heart for anyone. But if he means the apology, then it was a good one, and hopefully, it's something he really means.
Well, I think we got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Right now, I'm a person who, hopefully can be not a person of second chances, but a person of another chance because I already wasted my second chances.
Yeah,
I think that Kyrie can really, change the world right now just by saying, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I'm
Yeah.
young. I make mistakes. I really don't know all is supposed to know about the Jewish religion. I didn't know I was going to offend so many people. Look, I've learned from this. If this is what truly, and then really say, you know what? I'm going to start something right now. I'm going to start something to make this world a better place. Instead of, even unintentionally, if he did it, hopefully it's unintentional. I think it is, where, I didn't know I was going to get this big wave coming in.
Yeah.
Right now he could just say, you know what? I made a mistake, which he has, and now I'm
Yeah.
going to show you guys how I want to change this. He
Yeah.
can really make a difference in this world right now. Because look, if you think that, my dad used to also tell me this, people think that when you move down south, at least you'll know that these people are racist because they drive this and they look this way. And
Yeah.
then, but he said the most racist people I ever met was in New York. And he used to say, I said, why is that, Dad? He said, because you don't know that they're racist.
Yeah.
And those hurt, and
Yeah.
I think with Kyrie, right now, he started something by doing this, but right now he can really spin the state around and really make a place where, all kids start playing together because of this. He opened up the dialogue, but we wouldn't be speaking about this right now, about religion, if he didn't open up the dialogue. But he really can, he has the resources and the name to make this world a better place. And what better time to start right now? Right now, hey, no, I made a mistake. I can't go back in the past. How do I make this right? Do I have to get some, yellow kids, green kids, blue kids, to get together and hear my story and let me tell them and how do we make this a better place? How do we
Yeah.
make the world a better place? He can do it.
No,
But
I completely agree. And I
right,
think
because right, as far as the basketball organization, they're in the heart of the community in Brooklyn. And
yeah.
I think the newness of being in Brooklyn is kind of wearing down a little bit, and you have to win ball game. But you had one thing about New York is that you got to stay in the community. And that's what the Knicks do. The Knicks got a couple of people on their staff that played, I think, one's Starks, one's Larry Johnson, that they
Yep.
keep going around in the community. You need to have people that are not just playing the game, but people like myself who played for the Nets or played for something, do something in the community, even while you're playing. I'm telling you now, when we went on strike, I paid for all the workers in the unions. The people set up all the chairs and the popcorn takers. I paid for them while we were out. When we had basketball camps, we did them all. We did softball games. We did all kind of stuff in Newark. We did all kind of stuff down in Hunterdon. We did all kind of all over the place to keep people, engaged with what was going on. So I don't think players do a service right now. I think back in the day, we would run a basketball camp. You can come up and see it. Right now, we're all like, everybody's a movie star from the 12th man on. I
Yeah.
in there, and what we need to do is get back in the community, all of us, to make the world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the right approach, as you said. Um, I don't think anyone's ill-intentioned. It's just, as you said, you learn from what you do and move forward. And obviously, um, like you said, not canceling someone, giving them the opportunity to do good in the world. And hopefully that's the next step for Kyrie. And yeah, well, and then
Kanye
Kanye,
also,
yeah. Yeah, any
right?
one of these guys with influence, they
Right.
obviously have a lot of sway, and they can use it for incredible positive, and they have in other times in their lives. So hopefully, moving forward, that's what happens when the next time they try to reach out and build something.
I wonder, like, when people are that famous already, like, I'm not an internet guy. I don't, this, you have to text me. I don't do mail. So
Yeah.
social media is something that is, I like to talk to you, but if you're already that famous, why would you have to go out unless you're just doing it for the shock value? Are you really trying to show somebody, look, I'm still this famous that I can change the world, have the whole world talking about me again? Because if that's the fact, then you need to come down here to rebound because you got low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And when you have low self-esteem, you got to put different things in your body to get you back that's going to harm you in the future. So I think they just go out there and want to test their Q rating. Let me see how famous I still am. Let me just say anything. Because you got to be saying anything. Because I can't believe, I'm right now, but then, for the people that he chose to follow and support, is not firing on all cylinders. But then, when you go out there and it goes to hate, it almost goes back to, stuff that's happened that can really hurt a lot of people. So we got to just look at that, and I would just have loved to have a conversation. Hey, dude, what's going on with yourself? You've done so much in this world that's for good. Why would you shake it up like that? It's something going on inside of you. Because
Yeah.
trust me, Jesse, when things are going on, I'm the star of this program, I'm the star of this, not this program. And I get in there, I'm like, come on, guys. Even with them, I say, look, guys, I kind of lost it today, but look, we're in the business of saving people's lives, and we don't have second chances, and the sense of urgency got to be now. And people pull your coattails and say, look, Jay, but we need you to be totally healthy. We need you to calm down. We need you to take off of you. So here we're going to do this. And it's a chance to make the place even better, and I'm saying the same thing with these two individuals because I don't want to link them together. They can make the
Yeah.
world a better. If they just said, wow, okay, now I got you. I hear you guys. You open the dialogue. Let's go. Let's go make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's hopefully the way things go, and obviously that's the goal for everyone, to try to make the world a better place. Jayson, this has been a good conversation. We're gonna wrap this thing up. Obviously, we'll be back on our rotation with guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, but obviously want to thank all the listeners we've had for our start so far, all the guests we've had, and it's been a great start to the show, and a lot more great shows and guests and episodes to come in the upcoming weeks.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for all the listeners. I'm still wondering how you can go to podcasts. I'm still a guy to go to and hear what's going on, but this is new to me, and Jesse's explaining to me, yeah, people go to a podcast and CJ, they listen to it whenever they want. And I'm like, you think that's the way I like, so it's all new to me, and thanks for sticking in there with us. We appreciate it, and we're learning as we go also. So stick with us.
Absolutely. So that's it for this week's episode of the J Squared Podcast. We'll see you again next week. Until then, peace out.